It is a terrific Tuesday indeed, and it gets even more terrific when we're joined by one of our great friends of the show. Joining us right now is none other than Steve Levy, president of Common Sense Strategies, contributor to Newsmax and Fox News, and also recently the author of Solutions to America's Problems. Steve, thanks for taking a few minutes for us on Liquid Lunch today. We had a lot of problems, my friend. How did you come up with all the solutions?
Well, I figure everyone's complaining about it, but someone ought to try to put out some solutions. And let me tell you, it's a long book because there's a lot of problems out there.
No, there's certainly a lot to get through. But in your book, you start to break down where the key flashpoints are and what us, good, hardworking Americans can do. Give us some ideas of what people find out in the book.
Well, unfortunately, political correctness and special interests block our desire to get to the truth. Let's take the welfare system, for instance. A lot of liberals will say, well, people are on welfare because of either racism or because you just need more money into the system. Look, we've been spending trillions on this system, and yet people are still trapped in poverty. And I'll give you the politically incorrect answer as to why that's the case. A friend of mine had a company, hires this person off of welfare. She's doing a good job. Hey, we're doing a review. We're giving you a raise. Okay. The next day, the employer gets a call from her social worker saying, you cannot give this woman the raise. Why not? Because she'll have a lessening of her benefits. So that woman is now trapped in a cycle of poverty and will never get out. We really have to change this welfare system, get rid of it, get the money into people's hands rather than the bureaucracy, and allow people to keep money when they earn more money, so you incentivize work. That's one example, John.
So there's actually a system of disincentivizing people to perform better at work, because if they get a raise, it'll kill some of their public assistance. They'll lose their rent, they'll lose their health insurance. So they don't really need to go in and work very hard because they don't want to get promoted, right?
Well, it's often the case. And, you could make the equivalent of anywhere from $40,000 to $60,000 a year by staying home rather than going to work, between housing assistance and food stamps and Obama phones and heating assistance. You'd have to make about $70,000 going to work after you're paying for your daycare and paying for your transportation and your clothing wardrobe to equate what someone would make staying home. And don't blame the people on the welfare system. They're just following human nature. Blame the 60s liberals and the 70s liberals who concocted this system that disincentivizes work.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing it play out now in real life with the Democrats in Congress trying to keep continuing to pay people unemployment to stay home because they don't want us to recover from this pandemic. I do want to focus in one of the great points you make in the book about college tuitions. I've been talking about this for years, Steve. I think it's the biggest scam ever pulled off by academia on the government and the people of America. I got two daughters in college right now. Almost every kid qualifies for a loan, some government-backed loan. So a little while back, I guess about a decade or two ago, they figured out that we can just start raising the heck out of these tuitions because the government's going to give a 20-year-old with no credit an unsecured loan for $250,000. So I think regular, good, hard-working folks are really getting hurt badly by what's going on with college tuitions.
Yeah, well, that's one of the chapters in my book. And you have to wonder, how is it that college tuition has far outpaced the rate of inflation over the last 30 years? And it's probably about 6 or 7 various answers. But the biggest one is the fact that the availability of student loans have exploded, in large part because the federal government has come in and backed those loans for the university. So the university has no skin in the game, number one. A person graduates in women's studies or whatever, basket weaving, and have no practical application to the real world. They're not getting a high paying job to pay back their loans. What does the university care? The administrator figures, hey, I would normally charge $30,000 for this tuition, but the parents or that student get another 30, so I'll charge 60. Here's the solution, John. You tell you tell these administrators that you can get a federally backed loan, but only if it's conditioned on you capping the rate of increase for your tuition. If you don't want to cap your loans, that's fine. It's America, but you don't get the backing of the federal government on your loans.
So the college administrators figured out that they can basically go to the magic imaginary printing press of the U.S. government, and because these liberal policies, and everybody should have access to education, because they want to make it so that everyone can get a loan. I've been saying this for quite some time, that most people with a practical degree who borrow $200,000 to go to college, they probably can't ever pay it off over life.
Right, and on top of that, you want another reason why college costs have gone up is so many more people are going to college now, as opposed to 30, 40 years ago. Just a small percentage of people were going to college prior to the Vietnam War. Now it's a majority of people, so it's supply and demand. The more people who want to go, the higher the cost. And a lot of these people should not be going to college in the first instance, John. They should be going toward trades. They're going to come out with very little value to that education in many cases, where they could have put $200,000 into a business and done quite well with it. Listen, college is great for many people because you do earn more as a result of that degree, but you have to balance that by the loans and how much you're going to make and what your career path will be after the college is complete. So the politically correct answer to colleges is give more loans. The politically incorrect but proper solution is to condition those loans on these universities capping their tuition.
Yeah, that's an amazing idea. I hadn't heard that one before, but that is a good idea. That's what you're going to find in Steve Levy's book, Solutions to America's Problems, just out. Hey, Steve, you talk about the unions in the book, particularly the municipal unions. Here in New York, we're basically governed by, one-party rule. We have, a monarch as a governor. We have a socialist as a mayor. And they're in my view, this shell game with the head of the teachers union, where they act like they're not in coordination, but in fact they are. And the teachers union puts all these unreasonable requests upon the city, and the city just agrees to them. And then the teachers union says, nah, we still don't like it. We're going to go on strike. The governor and the mayor need to say we're opening schools so they get their federal funding. But then I think they're using Mulgrew to actually basically exact their policies. So it's really scary, the union's power in these blue cities.
Yeah. These unions control the governmental process in these blue states. In fact, one of the chapters answers the question, why are taxes so much higher in blue states vis-a-vis red states? It's not just a political philosophy. It's also the fact that municipal unions in these blue states, California, Illinois, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, are disproportionately powerful. We're talking about the municipal unions. And the point I bring up, John, is in a private sector, if management was negotiating with the union over the table and took money from the union leadership in the course of that negotiation, the manager would be arrested. In the public sector, it's fine. It's perfectly acceptable. It's legal. It's a brutal conflict of interest. So what's the answer? You ban donations from the unions and companies that do business with that same entity with the officials who are negotiating the terms of the contract. It's common sense. That's the way it works in the private sector. That's the way it should work in the public sector. But the blue states, the municipal unions own them, And that's why taxes are out of control.
No doubt about it. Hey, Steve, we got to get you back on another day. You're a great guest, and I really appreciate you joining us. He's the president of Common Sense Strategies, contributor to Newsmax and Fox News, and also author of the new book, Solutions to America's Problems. Steve, thank you so much for joining us.
And if I could just say, go to stevelevy.info for info on the book. Thanks, John.
Go to stevelevy.info. To pick up a copy of that book, stevelevy.info. We're going to have a lot more info for you right after this when we come back and break down the news of the day.